Hey everybody, Shane Van Fleet, Loveland Sales Manager here in Central Illinois. It's May 14th, standing here in a field of corn. Wanted to talk to you guys about a couple products today. We're gonna get ready. I know we are posting some corn in some areas. Got a week or 10 days off on this for sure, but wanted to talk to you about a couple products today and why they need to be in the tank under these conditions, or any conditions, every year. But you know, I come out here this morning, it's cold. I'm wearing a sweatshirt, right? Dipped down into the low to mid 50s there last night. Did a soil temperature there. I was mid 50s this morning. I'm back up to about 60 right now. Soils are cold. These plants, as you can see, are good stand, but they're not feeling the best. We're not collectively getting as much heat as we'd like. But what can we do? Nutrien does a great job of looking at our stat tool, telling us what the soil is telling us and what the law of deficiency is in that soil, and what nutrients it's gonna need and why. We're gonna run some thermal scanners this year, some leaf tech scanners. We do a great job of tissue testing, listening to these plants. One thing this stat tool does and the tissue test does is always tell us what micronutrient it needs. But I'm gonna talk about a couple products today that don't show up on either of those, but are vitally important to be in there and why. I'm gonna talk to you today about Radiate Next, and Terramar. We have two versions of the Radiate product. We got Radiate with IBA and Kynoton. We got Radiate Next with IBA, Kynoton, GABA, and choline chloride. The Radiate Next is kind of positioned for a later year, more stress mitigation, little less IBA for roots. The Radiate product's been a flagship that does a phenomenal job of stimulating auxins and kynotons in that plant for root growth, right? So we can touch more soil and cell elongation for shoot growth. We've long known that they do that. We also know they do a phenomenal job of stress mitigation, right? Too hot, too dry, too cold, too wet. Too cold today, too wet in a lot of parts of our western area in southeast Iowa this spring. So we can offset a lot of those stresses in that plant where that plant just doesn't feel as good as it should, right, under these weather conditions. We can really offset that with the Radiate product. Talk to you about another product called Terramar. So Terramar is made up of a kelp component. It's an organic, right? Hormone production piece, feel good piece. It's got carbon in there. It's biologically digested carbon. So we take products like our humics, right, with humic and fulvic, and fulvic is generally a smaller molecule, but we biologically digest that in our Terramar product and make it even smaller. Why is that important? The smaller that molecule, the quicker it gets into the plant. Why do we care about that? We want that in there efficiently and quickly, as quick as we can. These things have ionic charges, so whatever it's attached to, if we've got another nutrient into the tank, it's pulling that into the tank as well, even faster. And I think about chemistry. If I can get my chemistry with that biologically digested carbon component into a weed, I'll kill it quicker, right? So we've got kelp, we've got carbon, we've got a sequestering component in Terramar that sequesters potassium, right? We have to dump carbon, as Lewis Walker says, to pull in potassium. We got that carbon component in there. Dumping carbon, we're feeding that plant sugars, or that soil sugars, right? One thing I've often said about Terramar is we get brace roots 7 to 10 days quicker with the Terramar product than where we don't. Why would anybody care about brace roots at that small corn stage? Well, them brace roots feed a lot of sugars back to our plants. It's said that 40% to 60% of the sugars that plant is producing at that time, they're feeding back to the workforce in the soil. I just told you they're cold. They're coming out of dormancy. They're not moving a lot of nutrients for it. If I feed them, we're gonna get them more active quicker. They're gonna start bringing P and K to our plants quicker. So Terramar is gonna do a great job of that. The new thing we've learned about Terramar, is that it increases sucrose in the plant. Why is that important? Sucrose is kind of our fuel tank for that plant. Really helps with that, but it also does a great job of signaling out through the roots, sequestering. So I need that sucrose elevated to sequester those nutrient needs, right? So as I increase that, we'll see that in there. We're gonna get more efficient, right? Energy use of all of our nutrients with that when we elevate the sucrose. So we've long known the defensive power. It's got a tremendous amount of offense in there. That's why it needs to be in the tank on this post trip. Radiate next, or radiate next, the feel good piece, the roots, the shoots. It's got an amino acids package in there. Why do I care about amino acids? Amino acids is immediate energy to a plant. Typically, these little seedlings that aren't mining much nutrients right now because they just don't have much root mass, right? They'll go out, they'll mine some nitrogen, we'll get some nitrogen in there, they gotta mine some sulfur, they gotta go into the plant, right? They gotta combine with some other micronutrients to make protein energy. But I gotta have sulfur, I gotta have nitrogen to make protein energy into that plant, which is amino acids. I got amino acid package in Radiate next. So I'm putting energy into that plant immediately. There's no delay, there's no mining. There isn't a, you know, for the sake of time, that amino acid immediate energy is critical. I told you Terramar mines potassium or sequesters potassium in there. Jeremy Lewis in Southern Illinois has really done some extensive work with this and figured out. Here in Illinois, we got a lot of low K base saturation. Look at your soil tests. See what your soil tests, again, are telling you. What we've seen is with our high magnesium in our soil, we are blocking the uptake of potassium in that plant. So when we sequester potassium, if we don't have enough seats at the table through our base saturation K, we're spending energy trying to get that in there. So what we've got to do, he figured it out, was prime the pump with some potassium. Rex K or Locomotive in with that mix, either one. Putting that in with that, we're priming that potassium pump, and just like any pump, once you get it primed, it starts to really pull them nutrient into the plant. So don't forget to look at your K-base saturation. If you need to spike some potassium with that, you're gonna love the results of Terramar and its ability to do that. You're gonna create sugars, you're gonna feed your workers, you're gonna keep the Radiate in there to help mitigate stress, create roots, touch more roots, right, in that. And I've always said that Radiate, you know, it does a phenomenal job of helping metabolize the chemical that we're getting ready to hit on this plant. We're gonna load it with a high load of chemical, right? And that plant's gonna go through what I call a hangover phase. I just took in all that. It makes it just a little bit sick for a week, right? It's not effectively gathering sunlight. The faster we can metabolize that chemistry in a corn plant with Radiate, right, the quicker it's gonna get back to growing, and we know it does a phenomenal job at that. One last thing I want to talk about is, I told you our microbes are not moving a lot of phosphorus to us right now. If you know you need phosphorus, you're getting ready to post it, don't forget about Black Label Zinc. We got a nice shot of humic in there with a carbohydrate package for that plant. We got a nice shot of phosphorus and a nice shot of zinc. Zinc also critical for photosynthesis, right, and roots. So you can get that on at 2 quarts. I've seen some amazing responses to 2 quarts of Black Label Zinc with Radiate and Terramar. Gonna come back next week and talk about manganese, boron, and sulfur, but that's enough for now. Appreciate you guys' time. As always, be safe, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks, guys.